Greetings from Occupy Wall Street. I've been so giddy lately. I just can't believe that finally a response. And if you remember 5 weeks ago when it started, how it was first ignored, nobody covered it, and then it was ridiculed, right? Oh, it's just hippies on bongo drums. And then they had to start to get serious about it because it wasn't going to go away. And in fact, it only grew. And it became very broad-based, and all kinds of people down there. And then not just there. Then it was LA, then it was DC, then it was Seattle, then it was Boston, then it was Chicago. And then it was Fayetteville, Arkansas, where 400 people are there as part of Occupy Fayetteville. And the towns in Michigan where I'm from, small towns, where like 1%, 2% of the population has shown up to participate in this. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but if 1% of this country showed up on the National Mall for a demonstration, that'd be over 3 million people. That's never happened. It probably never will happen. So that's just how huge this thing has become. The National Journal poll yesterday said that 59% of the American public now supports Occupy Wall Street. 59%. This movement is only 5 weeks old. I mean, just for young people in here, just to give that some perspective, the early women's movement did not, after 5 weeks, enjoy the mass support of the American people. And I'm talking about the early women's movement of the 1840s. In fact, actually every movement that starts is ridiculed. And not just ridiculed, but harassed. They're the crazies. Can you imagine what it was like for those women in the 1840s to say that women should have the right to vote? I mean, it must have been, I mean, you know, they were completely ostracized. They were jailed. Husbands divorced them. Nobody would marry them. They were freaks because they thought women should have the right to vote. And that's true with any movement, whether it was the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement. At the beginning of these movements, they did not enjoy the support of 59% of the American people. So why has this happened so rapidly? And how has it happened without any organization, no dues-paying members, no leaders, no newsletter, no bi-weekly meetings in the basement of the Unitarian Church? None of that, none of the stuff that usually accompanies this has made this happen. It's just happened. And somebody was asking me, somebody in the press was asking me down there the other day, well, who organized this? Who organized this? And I said, well, actually, I'll tell you who organized it. They're up there on the top floor of Goldman Sachs, and over there at Citibank, and over there at Bank of America. That's who organized this, because they overplayed their hand. They thought that what they had wasn't enough. With all that they had, it wasn't enough, because enough is the dirtiest word in capitalism, because there's no such thing as enough. No stopping. And so they wanted more and more and more. And to get more, it had to be at the expense of people who are going to have to give it up. Going to have to give up their 401ks, their pensions, all the money that they played with in their rigged casino. They're still doing it down there. They're still into all the whole derivatives and credit default swaps and everything. This hasn't stopped. This has not stopped. And they've taken $2 trillion out of circulation, and they're sitting on it in their own banks. That's their own money. Instead of reinvesting it, instead of putting it out there like they always have done, so that there are more jobs and, you know, more things are created. No, they're sitting on this money. They're sitting on, I think, probably because they know the other shoe hasn't dropped. The one shoe dropped in '08, the other shoe hasn't dropped, and they're going to be ready for themselves when that shoe drops. Here's who else is going to be ready: us. Because when it happened in '08, there was no Occupy Wall Street. There was no mass movement across the country. This time when they go for their handout, to have us, the taxpayers, bail them out of another crazy situation that they put themselves into, it's not going to be so easy this time around. But I think, you know, listen, those of you who are my age and older, when we were younger, there were rich people, right? Right? You remember them? And we weren't really mad at them, right? You know, they invented automobiles and things, and they built factories, and they employed our parents, right? And they entered into a social contract with us. And that contract said that if you, the workers, work hard, and our company prospers, you prosper. That was the deal, wasn't it? They decided to switch it up to you work hard, the company prospers, and you lose your job, or you take a reduction in pay, or you lose health benefits, or vacation days are gone, or whatever it is. And they believe for a long time that they're going to get away with it because they have all of us on the Horatio Alger dream that anybody in America can be a billionaire. Anybody can make it. You too could make it someday, and so you don't want to tax the rich because you could be rich someday. Well, I think now that the middle class has had the crap kicked out of them, they realize that this dream is no longer a dream. It's a nightmare. It's a lie. And people have had it. And that's why it didn't take any organization or leadership or whatever for this Occupy thing to start. It was already boiling right beneath the surface. And it probably took just a few months of watching our politicians talk about nothing except deficits and debt ceilings, where I think people just friggin' had it. And let me ask you this, if you don't think this movement has succeeded already, when's the last time you heard a conversation about the debt ceiling or the deficit? That was 6 weeks ago. It's gone. It's gone because it's on what we should be talking about: jobs, unemployment, a fair distribution of this wealth in this country, this wealthy country. And how do we want to structure ourselves in a democracy? Should we have a say in how this economy is run, or should it be left to the 1% and they'll tell us what to do? That's not a democracy. And I'm kind of getting tired of calling this a democracy. Just because I get to vote for politicians doesn't make it a democracy. Democracy means that I have a say, you have a say, we all have a say in how all of this is run, including our economy. And until we have that, we really don't have a true democracy. And voting for politicians who are essentially, we were down there today on Wall Street, and this nicely dressed man came up. He was very polite, and he said, "Mike, you're in the wrong place. You should be in Washington, D.C." I said, "Yeah, that's the old thinking. That's the old, yes. We've all been to Washington, D.C., right? How many times? Nothing happens. Why would I go and talk to or try to convince those who are paid by the people in these buildings? They're the ones in charge. The people in D.C. are their employees. They're their servants. They're there to do the bidding of corporate America and Wall Street. And so I'm kind of wasting my time on them, when the real problem is right here. Now, of course, our elected representatives are going to have to change some things and pass some laws to make this happen. But they are loath to do this. They are loath to take the money out of our political system, which has to happen. I support Dylan Radigan's thing that he's doing to get the money out of politics. Just get it right out, eliminate it. Why don't we start behaving like these other Western democracies? They don't allow this kind of money to be spent. They don't allow their elections to be treated in such a debasing way. And they have their elections on Saturdays and Sundays, or election day is a holiday, because they want more people to vote. They think it's good to have more people voting. The Republicans are passing laws all across the country right now to suppress the vote next year, to make it harder for people to register, to make it harder for them to vote. Now, I find this very interesting because many of us, think that we live in a somewhat conservative country, and that we're constantly in battle with what seems to be a reactionary conservative population. The truth is this: we live in a liberal country. This is a very, very liberal country. Most people would not call themselves liberals, because liberals helped to make that a dirty word by running from it for so many years. So the word itself doesn't click with a lot of people. But if you ask people, how do you feel about X, Y, or Z issue, the vast majority of Americans come down on the liberal side much more often than they do the conservative side. Really, other than the death penalty, where the majority of Americans still support the death penalty, on all the other issues, whether it's the wars, the majority of Americans are against both of these wars, and they want them to end as soon as possible. And that doesn't mean just bringing the troops home in December. It means bringing the 15,000 contractors home that Barack Obama is planning to leave there. Everybody out of there. That's how Americans feel. The majority of Americans want strong environmental laws. They believe women should be paid the same as men. They take the liberal position on all these issues. Last month, the majority of Americans, 72%, said that they believe that taxes should be raised on the wealthy. 72%. They take the liberal position. 54% last month. This is the first time that this is ever polled this way. 54% said they believe that gay marriage should be the law of the land. 54%. That's the country you live in. You live in a liberal country. I know it seems scary there past the Hudson as you get into New Jersey. And then by the time you get to Pennsylvania, it's very dark. Lots of forests, scary people. But I come from the middle part of the country, so I'm here to tell you, that's not the truth. The truth is the majority of Americans share much of the same things that you believe in. Which then makes you wonder, well then, what's our problem? Because at the beginning of the feminist movement in the 60s, the majority of the country didn't support that. The beginning of the civil rights movement, the modern day civil rights movement in the 50s, the majority of Americans didn't support that. They never support these movements at the beginning. We've got the majority with us right now. Do you know how long it takes to convince the majority to come this way? I mean, I know from firsthand experience because I got booed off the Oscar stage on the fourth day of the war. And I was in the 25% that didn't support the war at the beginning of the war. But now, 60 to 70%, and that was true by 2006, were against the war. People do change, and they especially change when they have the facts, when they're presented with the truth. Most people have a conscience. Most people have a good heart. Most people want to do what's right. Most people don't think of themselves as Democrats or Republicans or liberals or conservatives. They just want what's fair and what's right and what corresponds to their own conscience. And, you know, we don't think that this is a liberal country. You know, I saw the looks on your faces when I said that. So I know you don't really believe that. But you know who believes it, and they're proving that they believe it, are the Republicans. Because why would you try to suppress the vote if you believed you lived in a conservative country? If you believed you lived in a Republican country, the last thing you would do would be to make it hard for people to vote, right? You'd be setting up voting booths in every Wal-Mart across the country if you were a Republican, if you believed it was a Republican country. But it's not. The last three elections, the majority of your fellow Americans voted for the liberal in 2 of the 3 elections. Gore by 500,000 votes, Obama by 10 million votes. 10 million. 3 times what Bush beat Kerry with. That's the country we live in. So what's our problem? Why do we always go around with this sort of it's just, you know, it's like, this is what I admire conservatives. They don't whine. They would not have come in like Obama came in. Obama comes in with the olive branch. Okay, let's sit down and talk. How can I help? What can I do for you? Can I get you some water? You know, would you like a pillow? Feather or foam? You know, I mean, it's like, what was that all about? All that time that was wasted. How would the Republicans have come in 08 if they had won? Like gangbusters, right? As they should. If they got 10 million more votes, in other words, the majority of America wanted that direction, they should come in there and make it happen. And then we'll decide if we like it or not and keep them or throw them out in the next election. That's how they would have done it. But our side, you know, Harry Reid is our leader, for Christ's sake. Harry Reid! Well, I guess we can compromise a little, and we can, you know, do that. No, we don't. Oh, no, we don't want them to stand and filibuster. They'd have to stand there for like 48 hours and read from cookbooks and the Bible and everything. So we won't even introduce the bill so that you guys won't have to stand on the floor and talk for 48 hours, okay? Okay, okay. okay. You know, it's like, jeez, what's wrong with us? You know, this is why Americans, when they do elect Republicans, being from Michigan, a lot of auto workers voted for Reagan. It's not because they believed in everything Reagan believed in, but it looked like he had the courage of his convictions. It looked like he believed in something. It looked like he was a leader. When do we start leading? What? Okay, well, it's appearance and perception. I went in to vote on November 2nd, 2008. I walked in that voting booth, and I got emotional. I couldn't believe I was going to vote for this guy. I mean, in my lifetime, I would have a chance to vote for this person, right? Anybody else feel that way? Anybody remember being a little emotional? Yeah. I mean, you vote for, yeah. Even guys, right? Guys, right? The curtain was closed. Nobody could see us. I teared up. And in Michigan, you vote with a little felt pen. So you have to color in the circle. And one of my tears fell on the ink on the ballot and smeared the ballot. And I'm in there like, trying to wipe it, and I'm trying to blow on it, you know, to dry it. And my wife is standing outside the curtain, and she's going, "What the hell's going on in there?" That's not how she talks. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that. But I come out, I'm all red-eyed. She says, "Pull yourself together, man." I said, "I can't help it. I can't help it. Did you see his name on the ballot?" She says, "Yes, I saw his name." "No, did you see his name on the ballot?" Hussein. He put his middle name on the ballot. I mean, like, there must have been 100 consultants like telling him, "No, do not do that." And I mean, even me, I'm in there going, I see Hussein, and I'm going, "No!" Someday I was like in the Matrix, you know, in slow motion. "No! No, we're going to lose Indiana! No! North Carolina! Virginia!" There was Hussein. Why did he put his name there? Why did he do that? Why would he risk it? Why would he risk it? What a brave, courageous thing to do. Well, he said, "That's my name. That's my middle name. That's my name. That's my name. Hussein, Arabic for kindness. That's my name. Whether you like it or not. That's who I voted for." I want that Barack Obama back. I want Barack Hussein Obama back. What happened to the balls? What happened to the courage? What happened to the conviction? Right? Isn't that who we voted for? Weren't we hoping for FDR of the 21st century? Yeah. I mean, I know. I see the looks on some. Mike, don't say these things. Mike, we got to get him another 4 years. Mike, don't say. No, just. But we're just.
How about Calvin Coolidge?
Lesser, yeah, I call it the evil of two lessers. And I'm tired of it. I'm personally tired of it. I wish we had the Canadian system. I mean, or pick any other democracy. In Canada, they have 5 political parties. At the debates, all 5 candidates stand up there. They vote on a paper ballot with a number 2 pencil. That's how you vote. Any Canadians here? Back me up on this, right?
I want to be a Canadian.
No, you don't get out of this. You're an American. You got to stay here and fix this with me.
I hear they're building a wall to keep us out.
No, but I mean, they get those. They count all. They're the 2nd largest landmass in the world, next to Russia, and yet they have all their votes counted within 3 hours. How do they? I mean, seriously, they've got to bring those paper ballots in by snowmobile, dog sled, Zamboni, on the backs of baby seals. I mean, and yet they get it all counted, and they never have any dispute. And they have a representative in each precinct of the five parties. You know why they have 5? Because they think in a country of 34 million people, 2 parties can't really represent the broad spectrum of political thought amongst 34 million people. So they need 5 to do that. And each representative is there standing in the local gymnasium as they count the paper ballots out in the open, verifying that the vote is correct. So, Barack Obama, for the first 3 years, he plays a strange game of football here. He spent the first 3 quarters running the ball pretty much the other way, occasionally in the right way, but a lot of times in the wrong way. He thought maybe they would like him, that would help. They would maybe go along with him if he scored a touchdown for them. Well, not anymore. He's a different guy now, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's changed in the last few weeks. He's realized, oh my God, you know, I may not make it here. Not that he has to worry about the Michael Moores, you know, the people of the we're going to vote for him. I mean, who's not going to vote for the Republican, right? So if those are the 2 names on the ballot, Michelle Bachmann and Barack Obama, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? But that's not his problem. That's not his problem. Those of you, you know, those of us who would vote, right? The problem is that he's going to have is that if you remember in '08, we were all able to bring 10 or 20 people to the polls with us, or convince 10 or 20 others, right, to come along, or to be sure you vote. That's not going to happen this time. Not right now. Not at least the way that he's behaved. You can't talk. Boy, he's flipping me the bird. Jeez. And in White Plains. I heard this manners were invented in White Plains. It was what?
It was from
Yonkers. Oh, Yonkers is the Jersey of Westchester. I get it. Yeah, I get that. Okay. No, that threw me off. Anyways, I'm sure it was funny whatever I was saying. Oh, how are you going to get? We can't convince. That's the problem. You and I cannot with a straight face. It's one thing about liberals. We are bad actors when it comes to, hey, let's all get in the car and vote for Obama. Things are so much better, right? It's not going to work. Not with the people you know. You won't be able to keep a straight face. The best we're going to be able to say is, do you want Looney Tunes? You got to vote for this guy. But that doesn't, man, that's a scary way to try to make a victory happen when you got to depend on it being a negative vote. So you don't get the crazy. I got to go vote for him. That's hard. So he's got a problem. He's got a real problem. We have a problem. But he has a year. He has the 4th quarter. He can start running the ball in the right direction. One thing about us as Americans, we have a very short attention span, right? So if he stood up and fought for the working people and for the middle class of this country in the next 12 months, right? And we have 12 months and 1 week to go here, right? He could pull it off, and he could make our job easier. But he has to do it. And I don't know how we make him do that, other than he's reacted quite quickly to Occupy Wall Street, trying to say good things about it, or trying to have empathy for those who are down there. And not just down there, but all over the country. If there's anybody monitoring this movement, it's he and his campaign people. And they see what's going on here. So maybe some good will come out of this. Maybe this movement itself will push him in the direction he needs to be in.